Let me ask you something. What's the first thing you feel when you hear the word debt? For most of us, it's that feeling, right? A tightness in the chest, a bit of anxiety. We see it as this enemy that we have to run away from at all costs.
I mean, we've all grown up with warnings just like this one. It's an idea that's been drilled into us our whole lives. Debt is bad. Full stop. It's something you should fear and you should definitely avoid. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the very thing we've been taught to fear is actually one of the most powerful tools out there for building real financial freedom? To get to that secret, first, we've got to understand the trap. You see, the main reason we fall into the really damaging kind of debt, it isn't just bad luck. It's literally baked into our psychology. We are hardwired for immediate rewards. It all comes down to this psychological quirk called present bias. Basically, behavioral economists have shown that our brains are wired to want stuff now. We overvalue a small reward today way more than a much bigger reward in the future. And of course, banks and credit card companies, they know this. They exploit it like crazy with all those buy now, pay later deals, making it feel like you're not really spending anything. At least, not today.
Let's make this real with a story. Meet Sarah. She is doing well for herself, earns a solid £10,000 a month. One day, she's scrolling online and boom, there it is, the designer bag she's been dreaming about forever. But it costs £15,000. That's a whole month and a half salary. Her rational brain is screaming, no way.
But then, you know that little voice, the one that's basically your credit card talking? It whispers, you can have it right now. Just pay in a few small installments. And that desire for the immediate reward, that feeling of owning that bag today, it just completely steamrolls her long-term financial logic. Sarah swipes the card.
And here's the kicker. After a year of those small monthly payments, Sarah does the math. She realizes she's actually paid nearly £20,000 for that £15,000 bag, all thanks to interest and hidden fees. The instant gratification trap snapped shut. That is the very essence of bad debt. But this is where the whole story pivots. This is the big aha moment. Because if bad debt is designed to make you poorer, then its opposite, good debt, can actually make you richer. It's about flipping the entire equation on its head.
So what's the crucial difference here? It's actually really simple. Bad debt is for consumption. It's for buying things that lose value, like Sarah's bag. It takes money out of your pocket. Good debt, on the other hand, is for investment. You borrow to buy an asset that can actually increase in value or generate income for you, putting money into your pocket. Now, this simple distinction is the foundation of a really powerful strategy, one that wealthy people have been using for centuries. It's a concept called OPM, which stands for other people's money, and it's all about using it to acquire assets and build your wealth way faster.
The most classic and probably the most powerful example of OPM is in real estate. Imagine you want to buy a property that's worth £1 million. You might only need to put down, say, $200,000 of your own money, and then you borrow the other $800,000 from a bank. You're using other people's money to control a £1 million asset. That's called financial leverage, and it's a total game changer.
So how do you actually profit from this? Well, there are two main ways. First, appreciation. Over time, the property's value goes up. Second, cash flow. You rent it out, and if the rent you collect is higher than your mortgage payment, you're making a profit every single month. Basically, your tenant is paying off your good debt for you, while you own an asset that's growing in value. Pretty cool, right?
Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Okay, but what about interest? What about riba, which is of course prohibited in Islam? Well, the principle of using other people's money isn't just tied to interest-based loans. In fact, Islamic finance has some incredibly powerful, ethically driven models that are based on partnership and risk sharing, not interest. The core principles here are really key. Instead of charging interest, the model is built on sharing both the risk and the reward. And the financing is always tied to a real, tangible asset. This creates a financial partnership that's a lot more collaborative and, many would argue, a lot more stable too. Let's just quickly look at 3 common ways this works. With murabaha, the bank buys the property first, then sells it to you at a profit margin that you both agree on up front. You just pay it back in installments. With ijara, the bank acts kind of like a landlord. It buys the property and leases it to you over a period of time until you eventually become the full owner. And finally, there's musharaka. This is where you and the bank become co-owners. You live there and you gradually buy out the bank's share over time.
All three get you to the same place, homeownership, without traditional interest. But listen, even as we celebrate the power of good debt, we can never, ever forget the very real danger of its counterpart. The stakes here are incredibly high, and the cost of bad debt goes way beyond just your bank account. This quote right here, this isn't just an opinion. This is a scientific conclusion from a massive review of studies. There's a proven, documented link between being in debt and facing severe mental health challenges. This is why understanding the difference between good and bad debt isn't just some financial lesson, it's a life lesson. It's that important. Okay, so how do you make the right choice? How do you actually apply all this stuff in your own life? Let's get practical and give you a simple toolkit to help guide your decisions. All right, so before you even think about borrowing a single pound, run it through these 5 simple questions. First, the asset test. Am I buying something that's an investment, or is this just for consumption? Second, the value test. Is this thing likely to go up in value or down? Third, the cash flow test. Is it going to put money in my pocket or take it out? Fourth, the cost test. Is the potential return I could make bigger than the cost of borrowing the money? And finally, number 5, the repayment test. Do I have a clear, realistic plan to pay this back? If the answers are pointing you in the right direction, you're probably looking at good debt. At the end of the day, debt isn't good or evil. It's just a tool. It's a form of leverage. And just like any powerful tool, it can be used to build amazing things, or it can be used to destroy them. The real difference is in your awareness and your intention. So the question isn't whether debt is bad. The real question is, how will you choose to use it?